So, I have heavily tweaked this build now. I mean, it's still very similar to the same Anomaly Trickster you've seen me run. It was a good build then, it was super tanky. It's the first time I figured out how to make Anomaly build Trickster still do good damage, but also not still be unkillable, which is very hard to do, because Anomaly Tricksters just have a very terrible, compared to other Anomaly builds, their healing mechanics are just terrible in order to stay alive. So, hold on. So, what I did on this build, if you saw, you just paused the video at the beginning to see everything I'm using. I just quickly went through it so you can just see me do the whole expedition. But I got rid of Cyclone Slice. That was the last thing I did, actually. What I did initially was I revisited this build because I was about to do a video showing this build after you saw my other Trickster shield build. And I did Frontline, and I mean, I cleared it fine still. It still wasn't hard, but I was just disappointed because my dude was taking serious damage against Moloch. He didn't get close, he never got in the actual red, so like I said, it was still fine, and he was like tanking right in his face the entire time. But still, it's like, you see me now I'm really trying to perfect these tanks. So I'm like, that's too much for me. I'm sorry, I know he can clear it, repeatedly and never die probably, but still, it's like, I can make this better. This is too little. Even, I successfully made him so he could actually, an Anomaly build Trickster could actually solo, Frontline and solo it every single time without ever having to worry about dying, including Eye of the Storm and all those. Eye of the Storm is the hardest because of the Anomaly Rifts, but he's able to do it too, mostly just because of the resistance and the healing from his weapon leech on his gun. So what I did was, I realized I need, once again, Circle of Power. Circle of Power, you need resistance. Now, I revisited my gun build. He's still totally fine in my view. His shield breaks more often still, yes, but his health really never, hardly ever goes down, and if it does go down because of some big hit, it's back up instantly, rather than this dude who has to work its way up, because his healing mechanics, basically how it works is this dude's Cyclone Slice was the only way I could heal a ton. Otherwise, whenever I didn't have Cyclone Slice active and I was taking damage to my health, I could heal a little off my, like you've seen my other video, like Sandstorm, Death Chains, Weapon Leech healing. It's still good on its own, but it's not nearly enough on its own to keep you alive from the worst hits if your resistance is just 40%, for instance. So I'm like, no, I gotta change this. Now, compared to my gun build, his Weapon Leech healing is so ridiculously high that it doesn't matter. 40% resistance is all he needs. All he needs is some resistance. He doesn't need tons of it, if you get my drift. Just like my Firepower gun build Pyro only has 30% resistance, he has even more healing from his Weapon Leech gigantic buff from Ash Blast. So he's really fine. But this dude, that's the problem with this dude. It's again, his healing mechanics are not great still, but he has less health, he has less armor, he has less resistance, and that all plays a factor in okay, he has enough and all that to be tanky enough to get by and everything, but still, I know there has to be a way to make him better. So, I got rid of, what was it? If you go back and see all the mods I used back then, basically I just found, so I decided, you know what, let's lose health, because you probably noticed I have 2 Anomaly Power things in order to still get the Edge of Time bonus. Because I was trying to max out my health by still using a 3-piece Edge of Time bonus, Edge of Time armor. That's what I did initially, and then I realized, you know what, I think I would actually be tankier if I lost some health, went to 42k health, which is still good, of course, but it's the lowest of all my tank builds, just so you know, well, with the exception of my Pyro burn build that has no health. But for all my builds that still try and get health on their stuff, this is now the lowest one. 48k is how much my Firepower Pyro has, so this is even lower than that now. 40k is what this dude initially had, though, and then I took off one of my max health, so now he has 42k. And I did that so that I could finally get rid of, I think it really was, I'm learning it was a useless mod, pretty much. The 100% paralysis on Temporal Blade with the Edge of Timepiece, it's like, no, I gotta get rid of that so I can gain another useful mod, and therefore I lose some health, but then I gain, and you guessed it, Circle of Power back. But then I wasn't done, because I'm like, you know what? Now that I'm doing this, do I even need to have Grand Bastion on Cyclone Slice? You know, do I need the extra protection when Cyclone Slice is active? If I get rid of that and get Armor of Aeons, so that my borrow time is doubling my armor too, then I don't need it, honestly. Especially because at that point I have almost max armor in terms of physical damage reduction. I have 80% versus 67% is what it was before. So I will have that pretty much always on me now. And I will always pretty much have 85% resistance versus 40. So I have pretty much double armor and double resistance at all times now. So it's like, let's get rid of that so I can get more armor too. And I did that, and I did much better. My damage was pretty much the same, and I was way tankier, and I barely ever lost my shield, surprisingly. But now, as you're seeing, I wasn't done yet. It's like, okay, this is great, but it's like, now I just have this one mod for Cyclone Slice, and I never use it. Like I rarely use Cyclone Slice. It's really just to do, like, its damage is not comparable. I love it, but at the same time, it's like, you know what? Let's do it. Let's get rid of it. And then I realized, okay, let's get rid of oddity resistance in my skill tree. I always was skeptical it helped at all anyway. And based on what I'm seeing, it didn't seem to make a difference. But it could be from the extra buffs that I put on by getting rid of it, though. So yeah, I took off that skill node to get the 50% more anomaly power using a deception skill, and then use Venator's Knife, and just not have any mods for Venator's Knife, because Venator's Knife is one of those great skills where it's like, it's still useful even without any mods for the debuff. Also, even without the damage node, I realized I have so much anomaly damage buffing that the damage Venator's Knife does still heals me a lot from skill leech. So it's still a means, it still gives me a decent healing means besides just my gun. And in addition to that, it gives me even more anomaly power, and it lets me just get rid of the Cyclone Slice mod. And now I'm not even remembering what I stuck on in place of it. But yeah, I got rid of that finally, and basically, like, I just went through Frontline again, as you're seeing, and this time I didn't take any damage. 0 damage taken. It's back to that again, even on this dude. And I think it's... Oh, wait, no, yeah. I got rid of... I did short-term loan, that's right. So now you see my borrowed time has lower activation. Initially, I did Unstoppable Force, because I thought that's a lot more anomaly power, because of all the resistance piercing I have. But when I tested it, I'm like, I'm not noticing a big difference, because it's only like 20 or 30% more anomaly power. So, no, it's not even helping that much in my damage. Again, damage, like, scales, the damage you get from it decreasingly goes down the more you stack. So I realized, no, I'm at this perfect range for my anomaly power damage. Like, it's this perfect range where it's doing this kind of damage that's really good. It's just not overpowered. And the only way I could get overpowered is to just go full anomaly, like other Trickster builds, just straight damage and everything. And then I wouldn't be what I want to be, which is an ultimate tank. So, nope. So I got rid of that, and then I stuck short-term loan on, because then I realized that would probably give me the same amount of damage off aggressive teleportation from borrowed time anyway, without even needing Unstoppable Force. And then in addition to that, it makes me tankier, because then I'm activating it more and getting the shield bonus more. So I'm like, yeah, that's good. So I did that, and I cleared it even faster. So now this guy does even more damage than he did before, and he's also not even tankier, just way tankier, it seems. He doesn't even take damage now, most of the time, of course. So very proud with these changes I made to this dude now. So with that, I'll leave. The video didn't last long enough for you to see that that I took 0 damage, but I did. Just take my word for it, and if you want to believe your own eyes, just see if my shield ever breaks this whole video. It never did.